I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're uncovering the riveting tale of Detective Mickey's story. It's written by Miguel Puig, who is the man who is the subject of the story. It's a compelling narrative that takes us through his work, his undercover work in the late 1960s, infiltrating groups involved in Puerto Rico's independence struggle. We will delve into the challenges he faced, including discrimination, and we will look at the heroism that he showed during his work with the NYPD. Mickey, great to have you on the show here today.
My pleasure.
So we're glad you finally wrote this story. It was a long time coming. Tell us a little bit about your story, Detective Mickey's story.
Well, yeah, the highlights were some bombings that were taking place in New York City, and they needed someone to infiltrate and become part of that group to keep intelligence division informed as to the activities that they were planning on doing. And I took the test for the police department May 11, 1968. They were in need, desperately in need of an agent to infiltrate. And they checked all the applications, and I was the lucky one. I was one of the lucky ones. And they told me where to infiltrate, where to start, and go there and become familiar with them. I knew some of those people, some of them, from Puerto Rico and from my neighborhood. So I started like getting involved with them, socializing most of all at the very beginning. Eventually, they broke the news and told me that they needed somebody to practice bombings, or they call the term demolition. And asked me if I was willing to participate. I said, of course. I became a volunteer. I stayed there with for like 5 years. And after that, after they gave me instructions, they told me how to make bombs. I started just hanging there and socializing and looking for explosives to make a bomb and be a member of Big Bomber. And that's what I did for a while. I mean, we were like socializing and looking for explosives such as dynamite or potassium chlorate and all that. And then they trusted me, obviously, and when I stayed there, eventually it became a little hectic because I wasn't getting promoted. Other people were promoted to detective, and that means a lot to undercover men. The gold shield, the so-called gold shield, it's a detective. You're a real detective when you get the gold shield. You're not when you don't get it. And years went by, like 5 years, and I was getting mad, and they felt at one point that I had the wrong attitude. And then finally, one of the parts of the group, one of the units or cells, did a job. They found explosives down south, and through a group in Chicago, they started moving, and they put a bomb eventually in Wall Street. That was the highlight, Francis Tavern. And the people that I was planning to do the bombing with, they did it. Some people from Chicago, some of them, some others from the village, Puerto Ricans, and they did the bombing. They unfortunately 4 people died in that bombing. And then in those days, I went back to the academy. I had to go back to the academy because they felt at one point that I wasn't working enough. Nothing was happening. Or my bosses in intelligence to report to their bosses. And when I was out of the academy, I went to work in uniform in Brooklyn. Those days, then the FBI became interested in my reports and requested for me to go work for them. And I did a short stint with the FBI. They even invited me to join them. I never did. And in those days, January 24 of that year, they put a bomb in Francis Tower, blowing 4 people away, unfortunately. And that was bad because I was there trying to get them by doing the job for them, but they pulled me out of the assignment and sent me to the academy. And the police academy, you cannot do anything much undercover work. You could be trained to be a regular police officer. And that's the way it went. I went from there. I went to the FBI. I was pulled out of uniform in East New York and Brooklyn. I went to the FBI for a few months, and it was interesting. I was kind of proud of being an FBI man, G-man. And that was it. The Francis Tavern occurred. 4 people were blown. And that was sad for the relative.
Yeah. Very dangerous work infiltrating these groups. Was there any time where you felt your life was at risk?
Yeah, a few times, because don't forget they socializing, they use alcohol, and some people when they use alcohol become a little excited. And that subject always comes up. Do you sure we don't have an infiltrator here, or pig or whatever? I mean, I didn't pay attention. I got used to it. At one point, I used to suggest, why don't we kill them if there's an agent here, an infiltrator?
You got to play along with it. Exactly.
Yeah.
If there's a rat here, we'll kill him,
Right.
Exactly. What was it like working your way through the ranks in the NYPD back then? There was still a lot of prejudice and discrimination, right?
Yeah. Well, there were many undercover men. Like, I believe at one point, I think they had like 100. Even the gay union, the gay organization was infiltrated by us. Anyway, it's hard because you see, it's sad to see people that don't even deserve it. They're not in a dangerous position or bringing good information for the police department, and they get promoted. They got 3rd grade, which is the gold shield. They got 2nd grade, which is another step. And in my case, I used to complain, and they told me that it's not up to us; it's up to the big bosses. So, and that was also to get quiet. But some people that were not even good agents, because they weren't able to infiltrate anybody.
Yeah.
And they became 2nd grade detectives, 1st grade.
Right. Yeah, it's difficult. It's discouraging working in a situation like that, but you saw it through. You eventually became a detective, correct?
Oh, yeah, after 10 years, yes.
Yeah, 10 years. Yeah, 10 years. How long did you wind up working with the NYPD?
I wound up about 20 years.
30 years.
20.
20 years. Okay. You got out when you could. After 20 years, you were done.
Yeah. And then after they, you see that they're not taking care of you, they're not pulling for you, you're not being promoted, then you have no hope of being. And then there were other jobs. See, when I left the police department, I drove limousines for a while, and I met big people.
Yeah, exactly. What was it like writing this book and reliving your days with the NYPD?
Well, the whole thing started with a company called Scholastic Productions, in the village. And a person that knew them, Jerry Schmetterer, was a editor for the news, Channel 11, and also for Daily News, I believe. And his idea was to make my life into a movie. So eventually, that's why I started getting my information. And then but I wasn't lucky, or they were not lucky. We got a few writers, and some of them always had a problem. We had one guy, very nice guy. He had been in Vietnam. So he started writing my story. And then flashbacks came to him from the days in Vietnam. And he wound up going to a clinic for treatment. That's one.
Yeah.
Then we had another fellow that wrote some kind of script or whatever for Broadway. Let me see, this guy, Robert De Niro. He made, let me see, I'm trying to remember the title. He was, oh yeah, Cuba's Teddy Bear. You know, the story of him growing up with his father. His father used to sell drugs. You know, he went through a lot. And eventually, he wasn't happy with my story. Probably he had to do with the police. And he resigned. He said, no more. And then we got another guy, a Cuban guy, and he started trying and eventually gave up. He said, no, I don't see much possibility of making a big movie. So finally, I got a little mad, and I asked him, can I write it myself? I don't know if they believe me, but they suggested a book, The Foundations of Screenplay Writing by Sid Field. I bought the book, read it, and wrote the screenplay. I don't know how good it is, but I did it from beginning to end. I still hanging there. I have it in my shelf.
Well, the screenplay is written, the book is written. If there is a Hollywood producer out there interested, this would be a fantastic film, because there's so much to it. There's a lot to unpack here. It's New York in the 1960s. It's a heroic police officer, an investigator, a detective infiltrating the groups affiliated with Puerto Rican independence. And it also tells the story of Mickey's own tribulations and trials dealing with discrimination on the force. It's much like a Serpico type story, for sure. The name of the book is Detective Mickey's Story, and it is a compelling book that takes us through his work, his undercover work in the late 1960s. Mickey, thank you so much for joining us here today on Spotlight.
You're very welcome.
I appreciate your time. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.